Israeli strikes on Lebanon are threatening to derail an already tenuous ceasefire deal in the Middle East. While Iran says Israel is violating the agreed-upon deal, the U.S. says Iran simply misunderstood when it thought Lebanon was included in the ceasefire.
That said, the Israelis have actually offered to be, frankly, to check themselves a little bit in Lebanon because they want to make sure that our negotiation is successful. If Iran wants to let this negotiation fall apart in a conflict where they were getting hammered over Lebanon, which has nothing to do with them and which the United States never once said was part of the ceasefire, that's ultimately their choice. We think that would be dumb, but that's their choice.
I'm joined now by Randa, director of the Middle East program at the Stimson Center, a Washington-based think tank, and John Allen, the former Canadian ambassador to Israel. Thank you both for being here. Randa, I'll start with you. What is the likelihood that this ceasefire, which, as we have been talking about, is a fragile one, could fall apart over this disagreement around Lebanon?
Well, I mean, as the vice president put it, it's up to Iran now to make that choice. I personally don't think that Iran will go to the mat for Hezbollah. I think they can always spin it as this is going to be part of the negotiations. But I think that Tehran is interested in maintaining this ceasefire, is interested in preventing the kind of wide-scale bombardment that Trump was threatening them with, and is interested in negotiating. Their economy is in shatters. They have deep issues in terms of popular anger, in terms of, a lot of their military arsenal has been destroyed. They are very much interested in rebuilding the country. They have a new leadership with the new supreme leaders. He would like to, get going with his rule and his regime. And so I think it is a situation that can be overcome by interesting diplomatic maneuvering. And it could be part of the negotiations in terms of whether eventually any kind of agreement will cover cessation of violence on all fronts, including Lebanon. But I don't think it's going to be enough to prevent these negotiations.
John Allen, how do we make sense of the fact that Lebanon has become this issue that we are debating, whether or not it is included, that the fighting is continuing even after news of the ceasefire?
Well, to contradict Vice President Vance, who suggested that Lebanon has nothing to do with this, Hezbollah began firing rockets into northern Israel when the Ayatollah was assassinated and when the attacks on Iran began. So the two are directly related. Now, I think Israel was probably waiting for Hezbollah to do something like that because despite what they thought when they had assassinated the Hezbollah leader Nasrallah and created these pager attacks when many leaders were killed, they thought they had obliterated Hezbollah, and that has proved to be incorrect. So they were looking for a reason to begin bombing in Lebanon anyway. But it is a major issue, and if this war resumes because of the continuing fighting in Lebanon, and if we have a continuation of oil prices increases and the possibilities of economic recession, et cetera, I think Israel is going to be bearing a lot of blame for this, and there's going to be a lot of people around the world very unhappy that this is the cause. May not be the only cause, but if it is, it could be problematic for Israel going forward.
Randa, Salim, Lebanon has been asking for help from the outside world today. These allies, including Canada, signed a joint statement saying Lebanon should be part of the ceasefire. To what extent do you think there is likely to be outside pressure to include Lebanon in the ultimate agreement?
There's already outside pressure, especially from the European community and from countries like Canada, to include Lebanon in the ceasefire deal. I have not seen much pressure coming from the GCC countries, for example. I think, however, the Arab League, I think, is now pushing for including Lebanon into the ceasefire deal. But as John said, I mean, this started with Hezbollah joining Iran for the purpose of avenging the killing of the late Supreme Leader Khamenei, and you know, and it needs to stop somehow. Today was the like up to 254 people lost their lives. 100 attacks, according to the Israeli, 100 strikes in the span of 10 minutes on a small country like Lebanon that we have already had 1 million displaced. I'm assuming this is going to increase the displacement, internal displacement crisis, more destruction. Already the economy is in bad shape. And so, I mean, Lebanon is facing the scenario of state collapse. And I don't know if the United States or anybody, you know, wants a state to collapse. I'm not sure if Israel is interested in state collapse. I think they don't want a state where Hezbollah will be ruling more than before, because what has been going on is giving another lease on life for Hezbollah, after it has been weakened seriously by Israel, but also seriously weakened by their own decision to join Iran in this war, which has created a major rift between them and their major constituency, the Shia of Lebanon and the rest of the population of Lebanon.
John Allen, one of the many remarkable things that has happened in the last 24 hours is that even, we had Donald Trump saying yesterday morning, obliterate Iranian civilization that it will never return from. This morning, he was talking about working with Iran to charge tolls to people, to vessels that pass through the Strait of Hormuz. I wonder just how is that a scenario that you can envision actually becoming a reality? And how do we make sense of such a thing?
Well, he's in a pretty dark corner right now. As you heard from your previous guest, all of the objectives that Donald Trump had set forth, the varying objectives over time, have not been met. And one of them, of course, is that before this war, the Strait of Hormuz was open. And now he's talking about working with Iran to keep it open and sharing tolls. Iran, of course, has said that they want to share tolls with Oman, with whom they share the strait. So this is part of an almost deranged Trump at this point. He is saying such strange things that they're going to be working now with Iran on enriched uranium. Iran has denied that they are going to be giving up its enriched uranium, and Trump says they are. Trump, of course, and Hegseth have said they've had massive military victories when, in fact, the Iranians continue to have drones and missiles, which they're able to fire. And of course, the worst element of all this is, Trump continues to claim there's regime change when, in fact, he's got a more difficult, a harder line regime in place right now. And unfortunately, the Iranian people, who were supposed to be the object of the U.S.'s involvement here to save them from this regime, are now in a much worse place than they were before, with, as Randa said, a destroyed economy and much less likelihood that they will come into the streets. So really and truly, it's hard to listen to Donald Trump and to believe anything he or his Secretary of Defense says at this point.
Randa Saleem, I see you nodding there. Given everything that John Allen has just laid out, what would you advise people to watch for as JD Vance heads to Islamabad, as these conversations about trying to find some kind of durable peace take place?
I think this is not going to be easy negotiations. I'm glad, for one thing, that we have JD Vance leading the delegation instead of only the two real estate businessmen, Witkoff and Jared Kushner, because they have proven to be not good negotiators and, of course, do not have the expertise in technical, complicated matters like nuclear file and even the Strait of Hormuz and how it's going to be managed. The hope is that this is going. I mean, if I will be looking at what's going to come out first. If the negotiation take place, we'll see. Again, I mean, Iran is threatening that. It's saying recently the Speaker of the Parliament said that given the violations, one of them is the ceasefire in Lebanon, that the negotiations are unreasonable right now. So let's see if true that they are not going to go to the negotiation. So let's assume the negotiation take place, and so let's see what kind of plan they're going to agree on. Right now, as Vance said, there are 3 different plans that are floating around, the 10-point Iranian plans. The American has their own framework, 15-point plan. And so we are going to be engaging in a war of plans going forward to see which one of these or which combination of these they are going to settle on. I think, but both parties are really, are interested in reaching a deal. There will be spoilers. Israel might be a spoilers. Israel is not interested in getting to a deal right now. And there might be other spoilers inside Iran. There are some wings inside the IRGC, very hawkish, who might see that a deal right now is not in Iran's interest, and that they see themselves as now on the winning side of the equation, and they would like to continue the war. So we are going to see how this play out. Negotiations will happen or not, what will come out of the first round, and then what will the spoilers do in order to derail the negotiations.
Okay, a lot to think about, a lot to watch for. Appreciate both of you giving us that context today. Thank you. John Allen, Randa Saleem.
Thank you.